We got just about 40 minutes on to the hour of 8 o'clock. We gotta see if we can make contact with Live Compton too as he bring his commentary this morning. Good morning to you, Live.
Hey, good morning, Maka. How are you? Good
I'm
morning,
good.
everybody.
Morning.
Hey, morning, Live.
Nicole is with us this morning.
No.
Okay, just Rajiv. Okay.
Yeah.
How are you guys? Everything good?
Everything good, man. Your song sprite this morning, though.
As usual. I'm trying to see.
Anytime a song sprite, you say how some born in is you.
Not really. Well, born in is you indeed.
All right.
We yesterday around 4 after 4, there was a fire at the Tippels government school, and from what is being reported this morning, like the units that house 2 classes, I think they say grade 3 and grade 4, grade 4 and grade 3 were burnt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are again focusing on the wrong thing, as normally happens. They're more talking about it and not focusing on what we can do in the future to prevent, to prevent and to help fight these fires. Right now in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Antigua in the region are the only 2 fire services that are still attached to the police forces in the region. Antigua and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Everyone else has taken of its police department and created separate entities, right? I'm not gonna focus. I'm not a person who is focusing on what could have been done after it has already happened, right? What I want to focus is how do we in the future create a effective firefighting situation. Meaning, how do we properly train firefighters to respond to incidents of this nature? And what a lot of people don't realize, I will never knock the fire department. Never. You know why? Because these are police officers who were taken out of police training and fighters.
Without training or with training?
Hardly any training. What kind of training can you really give to them without the proper setup? It's not their fault. In places like in the bigger countries, we say the first world countries, right? A firefighter is a professional different than every other professional you will fight. These guys are taken and put into extensive training about firefighting, in relation to firefighting, and are given the proper equipment needed. Now, in St. Vincent and Grenadines, it's obvious that we have a problem. And this is why I always like to say that the new government has come into a situation where they have the chance to improve on many, many, many things.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't need any more buildings. We don't need any more buildings in St. Vincent and Grenadines. We don't, at this point in time, we don't really need major infrastructure projects in St. Vincent. We already have the airport, we already have the port. The other area I would like to see the new government focus on is rebuilding the Ackley Hall Marina and bringing it up to standard where we can attract some of the business from the region. But as I said, the country's poised will take off. I do not think that we need any more major infrastructure projects. Probably like one or two factories in the Camden Park area. So with that now, the government can focus on issues like this one.
Mm-hmm.
We have too many international connections to not be able to put in place a comprehensive professional fire service in St. Vincent. Too many international connections for that not to happen. That is not supposed to be anything hard.
And our police force actually trains. They have training programs with U.S. and other policing organizations.
Those are just one-off things. Like somebody might come here like once or twice a year, once or twice every 2 years to train firefighters. Listen, these problems are not very hard problems to solve, Not very hard to solve at all, We have, when you see, okay, people look at TV, right? Look at firefighting shows on TV. And they see firefighters going with all this equipment and they do this and they do that, and they stop a fire or they prevent a fire from spreading. But then you have to realize this is TV, right? This is not real life. A movie shows you what the best outcome could be.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what the best outcome could be, not what the outcome always is. And people also have to remember that when you're fighting a fire, sometimes the firefighters might get to the scene, and the property is basically savable. You can't save it. And what it becomes now is containment from spreading next door to other buildings and other houses and other properties or whatever. That is what a lot of the time, that is what it comes down to. You know what I mean? I cannot, the local firefighters will not be able to put out the fire of a building and save 3/4 of it or save half of it or 1/4 of it. That's not how it works in real life most of the time. As I said, when the firefighters go to scenes, they just try to stop the fire. Sometimes they can't even stop it. They have to just try to stop it from spreading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think that firefighters are trained here to know, listen, this is an electrical fire. We can't use this to put it out. This is a chemical fire. We can't use this to put it out. You know, this fire is caused by something. We have to get this. I don't think they have that kind of training, because there are different types of fires, and I don't think they're trained to know. So, as I said, we have too many international connections to not be able to train an effective fire department. No, the government, these are things that the government now can focus on. Maintenance of the RL International Airport, maintenance of the new port, you know, rebuilding the Atley Hall Marina, and basically maintenance of other buildings, the police station or whatever, refurbishing or whatever.
And making sure the personnel,
focus on.
and making sure the personnel that go along with these institutions are in tip-top shape.
Yeah. We have a lot of land. Okay, when you see fire services set up in the bigger countries, right? There's usually a compound where they start fires in buildings. A huge compound where they start control fires, and then they send them to put it out. That is the only how you can effectively fight some of these things, you know. From not. Some of these things can be fight from theory, you know. You have to fight them from practical.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a piece of land big enough where we could put up a buildings of this nature where they can set them on fire, control fires, and put them to fight them on different type of fires or whatever. I don't know if we had that kind of land space. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But that's how you do it. So the people, the fire truck, simple things like, the fire truck arrive and it doesn't have any water. The fire truck is only carries a certain amount of water. What we need a hydrant. Why can't we have hydrants strategically placed all throughout the island? CWSA is extremely good at what they do. And I don't think buying 2,000 hydrants or 3,000 or 4,000 hydrants or some sort of pipe connection and placing them strategically in all the villages, Church St. Vincent, all the areas of Church St. Vincent should be a problem. You know, they're extremely good at what they do. These things shouldn't be a problem. So you put a hydrant there. We always have good flow water everywhere in the country. CWSA services the entire country in areas that you won't even expect. What is so? And fire hydrants won't be needed in every single area. But they can have a assessment of where they are needed. And I don't think this should be a problem. This should be a simple thing. And it's about having the will to do it. We had the will to build the RL International Airport. It was built. We had the will to build the new cargo port. It was built. We have had the will to build many other things, schools, community centers. We had the will to make it onto the UN Security Council. So where there's a will, there's a way. And most of the time we have seen that the will eventually pans out and it makes things happen. So if we have the will to do these things, I think that we can succeed in doing these things. As I said, St. Vincent and Antigua are the only two countries in the region from my research that still have the police attached to the fire service. In Jamaica, there are different fire stations all throughout the island. Trinidad is the same thing. Trucks are strategically placed in all the areas. And I don't think St. Vincent, that's hard to achieve in St. Vincent. I think by year end, with the right contact, we could start to see the forming of something constructive in relation to firefighting in St. Vincent. I don't think it's that hard. It's just to have the will to do it. You know, God forbid a fire starts in town. It happened back in the day when I was younger, when I was a child. It happened, and it was a lot of panic in Kingston, a lot of running around, and luckily, the fire was able to be controlled before it destroyed the whole of Kingston. I think I've seen fires in Kingston from my knowledge, exterior fires in Kingston about twice. Right? And then there was one the other day, a small one in the police credit union that was contained.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have some, listen, a few years ago, right, I heard about a plan by some people to set fires, deliberately set fires. And if that had happened, it would have been very, 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 very bad for certain areas that they were planning to do it in. Right? So yeah, we need these things. We need to have that looked at as soon as possible. As I said, the new government can focus on these sort of things, because it doesn't matter. Listen, if it makes sense, we just talk and cuss and say, oh, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, and cussing about the ministers live or whatever. That's not the focus right now. The focus is how to stop that from happening again.
Yeah, I guess this is something when the budget and the estimates come around, these are things we would have to look forward to see how much to put in towards, as you said, like the procurement of these hydrants and so on.
Well, I don't think that could be done this time around, because the budget is due, right? Next month, month it's due.
So then,
and month after, I don't think they have time to do that this time around. But what can happen is that in the meantime, as the year goes on, they start the planning for that or whatever. And as I said, listen, do we really need to put something in the budget for this? We can't have some country overseas that we have diplomatic relations with help us out with this. I show these, okay, for instance, Taiwan. I show Taiwan probably has one of the most comprehensive fire services in the world, with modern equipment, drones, and whatever, right? We can put something in place with their help. They can help us with this. That is not nothing I think we can get help with.
Yeah, that sounds possible.
As I said, yeah, I don't want nobody to get me wrong, because we saw the other day in the States there was a fire that ravaged that entire community. And it wasn't about stopping the fire from burning on the houses, but at one point it was about containing the fire, and it could not be contained because of the breeze that was blowing. The breeze was blowing the fire all over the place, and people had to evacuate, and people died, and an entire community was destroyed. So as I said, a fire is a strange thing. It takes expertise in fighting, but I think that with the help, we could establish something that's comprehensive.
But life, what about if we get more fire trucks and put them in certain areas? For example, a fire truck could have stationed at the Kitters police station. Hello?
Without the hydrants, what we really doing? Without the proper training, what we really doing?
Wow.
A few years ago, I saw police officers fighting a fire in some, and one of them was going into the building without the proper respiratory equipment and ended up in the hospital. It happens overseas too, right? We see firefighters die from smoke inhalations, but at least they have the proper equipment, and sometimes something might go wrong. But as I said,
you give them a proper fighting chance.
But without you got the trucks, you got a million trucks, but without the hydrants and without the proper training, what we really doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like giving a man a gun, and he can't use it properly, and then he go shooting all over the place, and you miss. You know what I mean? It's with everything, firefighting is about training. We see when you look at TV, you see firefighters as heroes overseas. They have close to military training in the way they carry out the work. So when you take a police officer fresh out of training school, just put him in a fire station and say you're a firefighter, and then a fire happens, and without the training or the practical experience, you don't even know what you're going to do. You just going to pick up a hose and point it. You know what I mean? As I said before, you know what it is to fight an electrical fire, a chemical fire, some other type of fire. You know what I mean? You don't know. Sometimes you spray water on it, and if you even walk in it might make it worse. You have to use foam. I have to use some other farmer material or something to put it out. You know? we just focus on fixing the problem and not on cussing when it happens. Because every time there's a fire in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the same exact thing we hearing all the time. If we have 50 fires, we hear the same thing for the 50 fires.
The fire department.
Yeah, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Listen, it's basically like taking me and sending me to be a firefighter.
Yeah, because you have no prior training on how to deal with fires and stuff like that.
Guys from the other international teams are probably trained different. Mm-hmm. I think they're probably trained different. I could be wrong, right?
Due to the international standards required out there.
Right, I think they're probably trained. Guys are there, if they have any place what happens, they have to, are they able to go on and see and assess, okay, can save this building? So let's don't focus on saving it. We focus on stopping the fire from spreading. Are they able to go on and see and assess and say, well, hey, we're not going to take 10% inside. Let me just monitor this until it burns out. You know what I mean?
Mm.
What happens when they go to a scene and a car is burning? It's the same method of putting out a car, the same as putting out a house. What about, God forbid, a gas station? There's a fire at a gas station in St. Vincent. How do you contain a gasoline fire, diesel fire? You know what I mean?
Yeah, these are things that you'll be faced with in training.
Yeah, these are not hard things to get right. You can get these things right very easily with the help of some of our international friends. Taiwan is basically specializing in everything the United States specializes in. We have been friends of Taiwan for a very long time. They can help us with these things, but as I said, we have to have the will. We just have to have the will, and we have shown when we have the will that we accomplish a lot of things. So basically, one more thing before I go, because I find out what's going on. Yesterday, police issued wanted posters for two people in two separate incidents. But I don't think that they did it properly, and it has. I think it would become a problem for the young lady that they issued a wanted bulletin for, because it makes it seem as if she is part of the attempted murder kidnapping scenario. The young man, I understand, it's two different situations. I understand that they were looking for allegedly kidnapping her own child.
Yeah.
But the child was taken from her and placed with someone else, and apparently she took the child. So that was what.
Yeah.
Back people were saying that both of them are associated, and the situation with the guy, it's a very volatile situation. So I think that the police should be paying more attention to this, and sometimes throughout the day put out something and explain that it's not the same situation before that young lady ends up in some serious problem. She had nothing to do things, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, because you see a bulletin put out someone with kidnapping, attempted murder, and then after you see another bulletin with kidnapping. So obviously people are going to think it's the same situation. Seeing how things are going in St. Vincent these days. But then when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, the young lady wasn't in no way involved with the situation with the young man. This is something that shouldn't have been done wrong in the first place, because that situation is extremely volatile, because I'm aware of certain things that are parties involved. So yeah, that's my contribution this morning. I think I said a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right, Live. Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks.
All right. The kind compliments of Flo this morning. It's now 5 minutes after 8 o'clock. That's the time by the New Haven Funeral Home.
Death is a fact of life.